What is going on, represented here back with another Honkai Star Rail guide, and today I'm here with the should you summon for Tingyun or Fugue. In this video I'm going to be calling her Fugue. This video is going to assume you, the viewer, mainly does already know what her kit is, but I'm going to be briefly going over her kit overall and talking about why she's a really good unit overall, strengths about her, and most importantly why I think she's going to be an extremely important unit going forward in the future. This video is mainly for people that are still torn between getting her or not. It's going to be once again telling you the strengths of her kit and why she's good and why she's going to be exceptionally good for the future of this game, especially if you fall under the certain categories that I'm going to mention. If you've already made up your mind to skip or summon, that's on you. This video is not going to be for you. You don't have to make a big deal about it. Once again, it's mainly for those that are torn in between. That's all I want to say before I get this video. If you guys could drop a like on the video, it'd be greatly appreciated. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this along with all other types of Star Rail content. Check the description to join the Discord and also check out the second channel, and let's get straight into the video. So Fugue is a very unique character. Is going to be giving a form of a buff thanks to her skill, which is also going to convert her own basic attack to become enhanced. So pretty much a character where you just drop the buff on the ally you do choose and then you start spamming the enhanced basic attack when it's ever her turn. When you get the ultimate, you use the ultimate. And the buff is really good. Overall, she's mainly a character meant for break teams, but can also do some other funny shenanigans of giving a good 30% to break effect and also making the ally with the buff be able to ignore toughness type regardless of the weakness, with the effect being equivalent to 50% of the original toughness value. So it's not going to be full obviously because that'd be insanely broken, and it also doesn't stack with other types that are also just kind of rainbow ignoring. And on top of that, with their enhanced basic attack, she can also reduce the enemy target's defense by 18% for the one that she does hit for 2 turns. So very good buffs that lead up to break units. So break units want to obviously break, so the ignoring toughness type is going to be really good. They get more break effect, which is going to benefit them a lot too, and Tingyun herself is going to be able to lower the defense of the enemy. And defense shred / ignoring defense is the other best source of more damage you can get on the enemy for break units. She doesn't only buff break character specifically with that thing. Break effect on your other units that you might use her with is going to be good. And funny shenanigans you can do, such as giving the buff to Aventurine on your Acheron team. There's a lot of funny stuff you can do it for it, but again, she's mainly a break focused unit, but you can still use her elsewhere. But the main gimmick about her is that she is practically the exo toughness in a unit. If you guys don't remember, not too long ago in one of the MOCs, we had the exo toughness. Pretty much that entire system is going to be what she does. So she's going to allow you to break toughness and then also re-break and trigger a re-break of that actual effect, since you're able to take the toughness off the enemy normally, and then you're also going to have them with the Cloud Flame Luster, which is pretty much just exo toughness, which will be equal to 40% of their max toughness, and then you're able to reduce that and they'll take weakness break damage again. So it can be really powerful. You can use someone like Tingyun and also Buhil, have Buhil break the enemy and now they're in extra toughness, and have Buhil break the enemy again with a certain setup, and it's extremely powerful. On top of that, Fugue being on the field is going to be able to convert the weakness broken toughness reduction of the attack into instances of 100% super break damage. So she's the second and only other super break enabler besides the Harmony Trailblazer, and that's what makes her a super valuable unit. Especially, I'm not going to talk about this just yet, I'll talk about it in a few moments, but it's just going to be really big for the future. On top of that, thanks to her technique, it's extremely easy to set her up, as her technique gives her access to a 40% action advance at the beginning of the battle, which will also apply the same defense reduction state applied by the skill for 2 turns. So right away when you do use her technique, you already have her going, you can easily set up the buff right away, and you're also going to have enemies with their defense lowered, so super good and easy to use right off the gate. And on top of that, she's able to further increase break effect of your team when you do actually break a unit, so that's going to be extremely powerful as well, and it also stacks up to 2 times, so extremely big. And breaking weaknesses, obviously you're already going to be delaying their action, but thanks to one of her bonus traces, she's actually going to be able to further delay the action of the enemy so they can attack you less and stay broken longer. So overall, a very nice and well balanced enabler unit. The only unfortunate thing is about her ultimate. Her ultimate is just kind of an attack and then it does some nice damage. It doesn't really do anything outside of that, just some nice little extra damage. Doesn't give you any buffs as someone might like. Overall, it's just a whatever part, but that's practically the only kind of thing you can say about her kit. Everything else is extremely good. Having a really good buff that gives you break effect, letting you ignore toughness types and have 50% of the original toughness damage, also being able to lower enemies' defense by 18% with her enhanced basic attack. Being the enabler of super break, especially being able to introduce exo toughness on enemies, letting you re-break, which is going to be extremely powerful. And then looking at her bonus traces, she's able to give you a further increase to break effect buff, which is going to be really good for your team. Further increase the delay of the action of broken enemy targets, and is extremely to set up thanks to her technique, giving a big 40% action advance when you do start the battle. And so why is Fugue such an important character? Why am I saying that she's just going to be such an important character for the future of the game? As I previously mentioned, she is the only other character that has a Super Break enable in her kit. We do have someone like Firefly who's able to convert to Super Break damage, but is extremely little. If you use Firefly without someone like Harmony Trailblazer, her damage is practically next to none. And so Harmony Trailblazer was a force on that team, and thanks to Fugue, now you no longer need to only run the Harmony Trailblazer, you can run Fugue instead. Unfortunately, Fugue's conversion to Super Break damage is lower than the Harmony Trailblazers, but it is still really good and not too far behind. So functioning as an enabler is going to be extremely powerful, and it's mainly for this next part that I'm going to talk about. If you guys don't know, in 3.0 we are going to be getting Remembrance Trailblazer, and just like the other forms of Trailblazer, once you do switch the form, you can't use the previous one, you can't use two different Trailblazers. You switch the path, you're stuck to using that path. So if you're using Preservation, you can't use Harmony Destruction. If you're using Harmony, you can't use the Preservation or Destruction, and for some god unknown reason, if you're using the Destruction one, you can't use Preservation and Harmony. So this does mean you're going to have them set to Remembrance, and you're not going to be able to use the Harmony one, so you're not going to have your enabler, which is going to be a big problem for a lot of people that use Firefly, which is a big portion of the player base, or also can use Rappa or Super Break Boot Hill. So that's why her being the next Super Break enabler is going to be extremely good, and is definitely something you want to consider, especially if you are a Super Break user that might be considering the summon meta, because I will just say now, Remembrance Trailblazer is going to be a unit you're going to want on your summon teams, trust me. They're seeming to be extremely powerful, so you're definitely going to want to have them in Remembrance and on your summon team. So Fugue is going to be your only other source of Super Break enabler, and if you don't use Fugue on the Firefly team and you don't have the Harmony Trailblazer available, then your Firefly team is going to be extremely weak. And that's why her role as another Super Break enabler, and also just having an insanely good buff even outside of just Super Break, and also even enabling even more funnier Super Break teams that also focus on other stuff, her having that role is extremely valuable. But now talking about whether you, the player, should actually go ahead and summon. So I know I practically just mentioned this, but if you're someone that is a Super Break user, or you use break teams that primarily rely on the Super Break, so Rappa especially, and also Firefly especially, those are two characters you want to have Harmony Trailblazer on, and without the Harmony Trailblazer, they are extremely nerfed in a sense, and their damage is nowhere near what it could be. So if you're someone that religiously uses Rappa, if you're someone that religiously uses Firefly, which is a lot of the player base, and you're also someone that is going to switch the Trailblazer to Remembrance since you are interested in one of the summoned characters. So if you're interested in Aglia, who's going to be coming out, she's going to want the Remembrance Trailblazer. And then in the future, for the characters that were revealed, so someone like Casterus could be a summoned character. Practically anyone, if you're interested in anyone that could potentially be Remembrance in the upcoming Amphorius update, which is going to be a good chunk of characters, they're going to have a summon, and if they have a summon, they're definitely going to want to have the Remembrance. They're definitely going to want to have the Remembrance Trailblazer, so that's something you definitely want to consider, since if you don't have them on the summon team, yes, you could probably still get by using Sunday and someone else, but the Remembrance Trailblazer is seeming to be extremely powerful and something you definitely want to have. And the difference between replacing Harmony Trailblazer with Fugue is going to be a bigger difference that you can notice than having Remembrance Trailblazer on one of the other teams than not. So if you're someone that is interested in the upcoming summon meta, you 100% definitely want to actually consider getting Fugue. If you also do fall under the I use Firefly and Rappa a lot. And then another case of where you really should summon for is if you specifically use Rappa. From what we have seen and what we do know, it does seem like the Harmony Trailblazer is actually overall worse to use with Rappa as opposed to Fugue. Even though you can't unfortunately stack the 50% equivalent toughness reduction, the stuff that she does give is also going to be really good from what it seems, especially with the exo toughness being so powerful as well. Rappa mains definitely want to look out for Fugue, as she does seem to be better overall to use than Harmony Trailblazer. And even with Firefly, as also Fugue is fire, you're able to benefit a lot with the synergy there, so Tingyun could actually help you a lot, since Firefly is going to weakness implant with the fire weakness, and then now Fugue can also lower the toughness even faster. On top of that, regardless, even if Harmony Trailblazer is a bit better with the actual conversions to Super Break, the buffs that Fugue provides is so good. The break effect buff, which Harmony Trailblazer also can provide that, but the rebreak on exo toughness is so good. The lowering defense is also super good. The easy setup is really good as well, and then also being able to further delay the action advance, which can work hand in hand with Ruan Meg as well. Extremely good. And if you're in any way, shape, or form, I'm not going to talk about this at all, if you're any way, shape, or form also considering the E1 on Fugue, if you're able to go for that, I'd 100% recommend getting her, because that weakness break efficiency is probably tied for one of the best dupes for E1 in the game. Break characters will absolutely just destroy the bars just without a second question with her E1. The funny shenanigans you can do with running her on non-break teams is going to be extremely powerful even more with this, because they're going to be able to break it even faster as well. Combine that with Ruan Main, it's just absolute shred. So that's all I want to say about that. But yeah, for the people that should not summon, it is practically the opposite reasons of why I did say you should summon. If you're someone that does not actively use anything super break related, then obviously you probably will not really need to go ahead and get another character that's going to be a super break enabler. Or maybe you are actually a super break user and you have zero plans to summon anything summon related. Maybe you didn't even pick up Sunday, you don't plan on switching the Trailblazer to the Remembrance path, and you plan on keeping them Harmony, and you are going to keep the actual Harmony Trailblazer on the Firefly or Rappa or super break, whatever team you're doing, and that's just going to be your main team going forward. You're not going to bother with the summon meta, you're not going to go for Aglia, Casterus, potentially future ones. You just have zero interest in the summon meta whatsoever, which I will give my bit of personal opinion. The meta is definitely going to favor the summon metas over break. Break might get outshadowed for a while. It's not going to be the main focus. The summons are going to be the main focus, so it's going to be a lot more harder for break. I'm sure they're still going to compete fine, just like on follow-up attack are still going to be completely fine. But summon is definitely something you want to consider because it's going to be extremely broken at base, and then with the meta favoring it, it's going to be that good as well. But if you have no interest in that, then feel free to skip. And yep, that is the video talking about Fugue's kit, going over why it's so good and why it's going to be extremely good for the future, providing reasons of why you should and should not summon as well. Hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to drop a like. Once again, it'd be greatly appreciated. And also, once again, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all other types of Star Wars content. So I want to say, peace out.